There was a faint hum of controversy after Real Madrid's opening day. The kind of off-field noise that can turn a routine result into a headline that won't die. At the centre was Franco Mastantuono, an 18-year-old whose unexpected involvement triggered questions about registration and whether a club had exploited a loophole by listing him with Castilla while deploying him in the first team. For a few hours, the story smelled less of sport and more like paperwork warfare, with rival offices scouring rulebooks and pundits replaying registration clauses as if they were match footage. Then came the announcement that calmed one corner of the storm. Osasuna, the side most directly affected that night, said it would not lodge a formal protest. That decision folded the immediate threat of a disciplinary case and left Madrid breathing easier. From the Bernabeu dressing room, the debut of a young player could be celebrated again as football rather than litigation. An 18-year-old's first minutes given meaning by a goal kept intact and a fixture that remains on the calendar. But the absence of a complaint doesn't erase the fact that questions were asked, or the reality that clubs watch each other with legal gloves at the ready. This was not merely about one substitution, it was about how elite teams sharpen administrative tools as keenly as they sharpen tactics. The president of Osasuna framed the choice plainly, indicating a desire to avoid turning a regulatory question into a season-long dispute, a concession that reads like diplomacy in a landscape where every technicality can be weaponized. On the other side of the rivalry, Barca voices remembered recent episodes when eligibility protests kept headlines alive for weeks. And those memories fed the irritation that a similar case might go differently depending on context and relationships. So what actually stood behind the chatter at the simplest level? The argument boiled down to registration nuance. Was the Argentine listed in the reserve papers in a way that preserved roster flexibility for Madrid? Or was that a formal mismatch with his clear first-team role? The answer mattered less to supporters in the stadium that evening than it did to club lawyers combing articles of association. But it mattered enormously to competitive fairness if precedent allowed clubs to manipulate lists and open slots for last-minute business. The wider consequence is that clubs now have a fresh data point about how other outfits will act when a disputed inclusion occurs. Will they escalate or will they step back? That choice itself can change strategy. If teams believe rivals will not press every questionable registration, they may be tempted to push boundaries. If they fear a formal report, they will be more cautious and transparent. For Real Madrid, the short-term benefit is obvious. No disciplinary cloud. No delayed transfer chatter, and a debut that will be remembered for football rather than for procedural limbo. For Barcelona and its supporters, the decision reads as a loss of leverage, and that gap in approach exposes the fragile balance of power that exists off the pitch. Beyond club rivalry, the episode offers a reminder to governing bodies and the RFEF that rule clarity matters. When registration language is interpretive, disputes follow. And those disputes distract from the calendar and the product fans want to see. As the season unfolds, expect clubs and agents to take notes. Not just about Mastantuono's minutes, but about the tactics used around registrations. The speed of reactions and the rare moments when common sense trumps contention. The calm declared by Osasuna tonight may close this chapter, but it leaves questions for the next match day. Who else might test the boundaries? And will the next club choose to settle quietly, or push for a formal ruling that could set a precedent? For now, the headlines will pivot back to the pitch, to Xabi Alonso's plans and how his new recruits settle. But the boardroom murmur remains part of the story, a reminder that modern football is as much administration as it is artistry.